Hey everybody, hope you're doing very, very well. Azren, the language nerd here, as per usual. Welcome to another episode of Azren's Journal. This is episode number 46, if I'm not mistaken. For those of you who are seeing these videos for the very first time, this is a pretty straightforward segment on my channel where I share my personal language learning journey, and of course, where I give you a whole bunch of different language learning tips. I want to give you some personal updates to start. Let me show you something here. I want to show you, it's in my backpack. This is a little bit, well, kind of exciting, kind of not, a little bit of both. Okay, so first thing is this is kind of a good news, okay? I'm taking a Mandarin class at the University of Calgary, and I got anything here that's like private that I shouldn't show. I think it's okay, looks fine. I got 39 on 40 on this oral assignment. Yay! I got 1 mark off. I got one of the questions wrong, apparently. So that's really, really good. Now, the not so good news, or rather the news. This one I should cover this up. Let's cover this. Hang on here. Let's do it like that. There we go. This is the test. I got 62 on 78. So that, my friends, is not quite as good. And I think this is a good time to bring this up. Does your mark on a language test, does that have a reflection upon your level in that language? I think, to be perfectly honest, yes and no. I think probably leaning a little bit more towards no than it does yes. Now, why do I say that? I say that because, let me show you an example. I guess you can't really read Mandarin, but there's a question. I'm looking at this test right now. There's one section where I got 2.5 on 7 on one of these parts, okay? Now, the problem is the first question, right? They've got a question here, and it translates to, next month, I want to move and live off campus. And they said, can you help me? Okay, that's what you're supposed to say. And they've left a blank for where you're supposed to write a couple of missing characters. The way that I wrote this specific question and I answered it is correct. It's actually a correct way to say the sentence. However, it is not the exact way that it was phrased in our textbook, and it's not the exact way that we had practiced in class, right? It's not exactly right, but what I said was still correct, right? And there's a couple of those on this section, and in fact, if I double check, if I look carefully, I could be wrong. I'll have to look more carefully. I haven't looked at this test super carefully yet, but there are marks I've lost because of stuff that I said that was not necessarily wrong, but was not exactly how we had practiced it in class. Therefore, when many people take language tests, foreign language tests, you know, it doesn't, your mark does not necessarily reflect how strong you are in that language. It's also worth noting this is a purely, let's say, primarily written test. There's a little bit of listening comprehension, but primarily written test with a little bit of reading as well, but mostly a written test. Therefore, you might actually get a not so great mark on the test because you made writing errors, but you're really strong at speaking, for example. So it's something to think about. And I do not think a mark on a test has a direct correlation to how well you are, how strong you are, how good you are in another language. There is some correlation. There's definitely some, but it's not a direct correlation per se. Hello, Tessa, in the chat, by the way. I see you. Tessa says, I recently bombed a Hindi test, but it shows me where I struggle. Yeah, I agree. It does show you where you struggle, right? Definitely. I agree 100%. For people who saw the previous episode, you know I was recently in Germany, which is really exciting. Perhaps I'll show you some pictures from Germany right now. I can show you a couple. I got to talk a little bit more about this. I do work with a large YouTube channel called Easy Languages. Highly recommend you check out their work, by the way. They do some fantastic, really, really good stuff for a variety of languages. So there's a bit of a conference / workshop or whatnot in Germany that I got to attend, mostly fully funded. Here's some photos. Here's well, that's not a very nice photo. I can show you anyway. Here's a photo I took. Here's a group photo right here. Another group photo. We are sitting on a train, actually. So there's me. I'm right there. I'm literally on the floor, like crouching down, so the guy behind me can be seen. This is just a picture I took with the friend I met there, a new friend. Another group photo. We're eating some dinner. A couple of selfies. He makes the easy Italian videos. He makes some easy German videos. Man, the Italian guy is so funny. He's such a funny guy. I liked him a lot. Right, with Justina and Aga, who make the easy Polish videos, right? Mohammed or Mo, who makes a lot of easy Arabic. I think he's just started. I don't know how many videos he's made, but he makes some easy Arabic videos. A really nice big group photo all together. Look at the team, big team, no? Another more tame group photo. So really think it's all the photos I took. There's a couple more, but let's leave the photos there. Really good time. Lots of learning, very positive experience. There's such a great group of people. I really like the Easy Languages crew. They're awesome. Hey, Cole says speak some German. I don't really speak any German. I picked up a couple things. I mean, I can tell you the city I was in. I was in Köln. Köln is like Cologne in English. That was really cool. I also know the name of another city, which is where one person is from, which is Münster. I think Münster, something like that, if I'm saying that correctly. So really good time in Germany and learned a lot of stuff. If you're not following the Easy Languages channel, I highly recommend you check their channel out. See if they have videos for whatever language you're trying to learn. There's a good likelihood they do have videos for them. I make the Easy English videos for them. I make about 2 videos a month. I'm trying to figure out if I can make weekly videos. I'm trying to figure out how I can find the time to carve that out. So yeah, it's really good. I like the comment that just came in the chat. Azren, sometimes I think you're too obsessed with languages, which needs a therapy. I disagree. I don't think I need therapy. I personally think it's part of my work. I think my work is all in the field of language learning. I think making content about language learning matters. I think it's important for my work. I think it's important for branding. I think it's important if it helps me find students. If I wasn't making content, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to work with the Easy Languages team. They found me. They asked me if I wanted to work with them. They stumbled across me, who knows how. So if it wasn't for that, right? I mean, if it wasn't for my content, that wouldn't be a thing that'd be happening right now. I mean, I think the content and the stuff I do in language learning, it's really good for my work and it's a lot of fun for me. I enjoy it tremendously. So I don't think I need therapy. I think I'm choosing to live my life how I want to live my life, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm really happy. So super happy about that. Now, let's talk about our main topic of the video, which is what did I title it? I think I titled it, Is Taking a Structured Approach to Learning a Language Bad? Now, this is literally based on the language test, the language class I'm taking right now. I think I've talked about this class before, but let me share one more time. This class is a very structured class. There's a very structured approach to learning, extremely structured. So structured that in many ways it's actually predictable. Not necessarily in a bad way, not necessarily in a good way. It's just structured. It's a very structured class. You know exactly what's going to happen in every class. I can even show you. Let me show you how it's structured. I've noticed sometimes people really like when I show stuff and not just talk about it. So let me show you. Here's a textbook we're using. Okay, it's called Integrated Chinese Level 2 Part 1. Literally, here's how the class works. Okay, so right now we've started Chapter 2. Well, I can show you Chapter 1, how we did it. So here's Chapter 1. This is the first thing we did. Okay, when we took this class, we first, let me flip here. We first started with the text, right? There's a text here, right? We started with the text. We read it out loud. We read it together. We read it. People had to read it. We got We basically took turns reading one line at a time. The class went in a circle. Each person read a line. We then went to the next page. We talked about a lot of the new vocabulary. The teacher gave us examples with the new vocabulary. We kept flipping away. We hit grammar point number 1. We saw some examples. We practiced with it. Right? We saw grammar point number 2, grammar point number 3, grammar point number 4, blah, 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 blah. Then we got to the exercises in the textbook. We did one exercise at a time. Some of them are written. Actually, no, they're oral. They're all oral, I think, these exercises. We did some oral practice. She watches us do the oral practice, waits till it's done. Then we get a quiz. You always know when the quiz is coming. It's supposedly a pop quiz, but you know when the quiz is coming. It always comes at the same time, right? Then you're going to watch a video, but that comes with this textbook lesson. Then you're going to have a test, and then you start the next lesson. Very structured, the same every time. You know how it's gonna work. If you're not following, too bad for you. If it's too easy, fine. If it's the right pace, great. But this is the class, this is the plan, this is how we're doing it. This lesson, then this textbook, then this practice exercise, then this quiz, then this assignment, then this test, then next chapter. Okay, very structured. Now, I teach classes as well. I teach French and Spanish group classes currently. Those are the 2 group classes I teach. I teach some private ones too for English and various languages. Now, when I teach my classes, I would argue that I'm structured as well. I know what they have to learn. I know exactly kind of the plan in my mind and written down often what we're going to be following. I know where we're going. I know the direction we're going in. All that's very structured, but the structure has a lot of flexibility. The structure is flexibility based on student interests. If people are learning slower, I might take a moment to go, oh, they're learning slower. Okay, interesting. If someone is learning a lot faster, I might give them extra work. I might adapt a specific activity. If I see someone's bored, I might switch things up, right? I'm seeing the chat, by the way. I'm going to answer in a second. I do see the questions. Give me a moment. There's a level of change and adaptability that comes in with the way I teach. Now, with the classes I'm running right now, I've recently been looking at a lot of feedback. We did some feedback surveys. I was reading the feedback, and there's some interesting points, right? There were people that actually would have liked more structure when I looked at the feedback. Some people loved it, and there were people that said they would have liked more structure. And it brings this interesting debate. Is it bad to learn with a high amount of structure? I actually don't know the answer. I don't know if it's bad or good. I haven't quite figured it out. By the way, let's take a pause. If you've disliked anything on the video, I do want to get some likes and comments and whatnot, so please let me know. Leave me some comments, hit the like button, dislike if you don't like it, give me something. But anyway, I really think I don't know. I just don't know. I think there's a lot of pluses and minuses. I think it feels right for the brain when it's the same thing over and over. I really think so. But I see a lot of drawbacks too. I see a lot of drawbacks. I mean, there's some people in my class I can think of right now, my Chinese class, and even in the past years, they're so far behind the class. They cannot keep up. This structured approach is not working for them. There's people where it's like, I think the structured approach, the problem, the biggest beef, the biggest qualm, the biggest problem I have in a classroom setting anyway, we'll get to non-classroom in a moment. In a classroom setting, the biggest problem I have is how the hell can you stand up in front of a class, follow this exact method when you can see so freaking clearly with your eyes that 7 out of the 15 kids in the class, or 7 out of 15 people, are not learning at the best way they could be learning with that structured approach. You've chosen a structure, and 7 out of 15 people are not taking enough out of that approach you're using. For 3 of them, it's too easy. For 2 of them, it's way too hard. For 1 of them, it's so boring. They're just bored. How the heck can you continue with the same structure? It makes no sense. You have to change it up, right? My perspective anyway. My perspective. I don't think I'm right. That's how I view it, and that's my perspective on it. I think for many people, my way of teaching, I've realized this more and more. I think the way I approach things is not right for everybody. This has really hit me today. Today it hit me, I think that the way I approach things is not always right for everybody. Not necessarily, right? I'm pretty good. I can reverse engineer people and I can figure it out, but often maybe not. Maybe not. I like to think I am because I make adjustments, I try and change, but perhaps I'm not, right? I was thinking today, like, I actually might, this is an early thought for me, I might change it, but I actually might in the future, in the time to come here, in the years, months, days, weeks to come, I might start being very upfront with people to say, hey, I don't think we're going to work well together. I don't think you want to take a class with me. I don't think you want to. Here's why. Because what we're going to do is this. What you need is this, which means you need to go here. Yeah. Like, for example, Alliance Française, if you know it, they're worldwide. They're a French organization. They offer classes. You know, from what I've seen, at least in Calgary, and what I've seen from their classes, they're very highly structured, right? And they have a plan, they follow the plan, you take the class, you pay for the class, you then go to the next class. Like, it's very highly structured. I disagree with certain elements of that way of teaching, but if that's what someone's really looking for and that's what they have in their mind, that's what they think they're signing up for a language class, and that's really what they want to do, great. I think maybe that's better. Maybe it is. My argument then becomes, I think it's an interesting discussion to have, is what are the results? Here's the real interesting question. I think it's not really right or wrong. This is the real answer. If you're taking a very structured or not structured or random or whatever approach you're doing, right? I don't think there's any right, wrong, bad, or good. The way that you're going and attacking your language learning, you just have to figure out, is it working? Is it working? That's the big thing we have to look at. I think that's the biggest thing. Is your strategy working? So even if we're not taking classes, even if you're doing self-study, even if you're doing whatever you're doing your thing, you know, and you're following a very structured program, you're doing random study, you're just using YouTube videos, you're doing whatever you're doing, you've got to figure out, is it working? Are you getting better? Are you getting better at speaking, listening, writing, reading? Are you actually improving? If yes, good, keep doing what you're doing. If no, then stop. Now let's go to the comments here. I see some stuff in the chat. You have been taking Mandarin. Yes, I have been taking Mandarin classes. I've been learning Mandarin for about 5 years. Tessa says, even without work, this is not, well, let's skip that one. It's just a random comment. I appreciate the comment though, Tessa, but let's see here. We also have a question. What do you think about Michelle Thomas? Michelle Thomas, I don't know enough about it to be like, yeah, it's good or yeah, it's bad. What I can say is I've met a lot of people who like it. I think it works for a lot of people. Go for it. One thing I'm not super educated about is all the different language learning resources and what their pros and cons are. I know enough. I know some. I do know a bit. I'm dangerous, but I'm not an expert. So my initial thoughts on Michelle Thomas are, yeah, it's good. It works for a lot of people. I've heard good things. From the outside, it seems great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, go for it if you like it. I don't think it's bad. Yeah. In fact, this is a fun little thing. I actually think there are when you look at language learning resources, a lot of that, like, how do I say this? Let's say most popular language learning resources that have a good brand, meaning they're well known, generally are not ever bad. Generally, they're all good. They all have the pros and cons, but they're all good. So if you've heard of a specific program or course or class or teacher methodology, and you've heard of it, they're probably good. And you don't have to debate if you're going to do it or not. Just dive in and do it. Right? Or just like give it a try. Like, do your research and everything, but it's if you pick a language learning, what am I trying to say here? I think I've met people who really debate about language learning resources. Is this one good? Is that one good? Which one's better? I don't know. I really don't. But I think a lot of them have merit. And I think the only way to know is to try. It's the only way to know. Do as much research as you can up front. Talk to people. Get some opinions, right? Read reviews on Amazon. Read reviews online. Read about it. Try their sample courses. Check out their YouTube channel. See what you do your research. Make an educated decision. Buy something. Test it. If you don't like it, stop using it. That's kind of my approach. What else do we have here? I think people like the way of everything's mapped and well structured. I agree. Tesla gives me 2 hands up. That's awesome. I don't think the way anyone approaches anything will ever be right for everybody. Yep, I agree. We got, I don't want to say your name, buddy. Cihan. I don't want to say your name, unfortunately. He says Azren over Michelle Thomas. I don't know. I don't really have any online courses, so I think Michelle Thomas is better than Azren in this case. Is he not? I don't have any online, or I don't have any downloadable courses. Really, there's actually very little you could actually buy from me. It's actually pretty interesting. There's very, very little you could buy from me on. You could literally take language classes with me, but it's not even practical for everyone to do so. Like it's very interesting. I probably will have something to sell and ask for at a later date, but as of now, I don't have really anything that I really want people to buy or anything. Not really. So, what do you think the most important role of a language teacher is? Teaching. Doing what it takes to help people learn. There we go. What's the most important role of a language teacher? Doing whatever they can do, doing the best they can, doing whatever they can to help people learn. Which we can finish with this thought. This kind of brings it all full circle. It's one of my qualms with an extremely rigid teaching approach. It's my biggest qualm and biggest problem with it is that I think you're not doing your best job as a teacher when you have a very rigid teaching approach and you're not adaptable. I think because you might get lucky and the rigid approach works for most of the class, and you might get unlucky where it doesn't work for most of the class, right? You might not, and that's my biggest qualm with it. And yeah, it's my biggest qualm. I do want to add one more thing. I think that the other thing when it comes to a structured or unstructured or whatever approach you want to take, use whatever words you want to use, right? The other thing we have to look at is your personality and your preferences. If you are a structured, rigid human being and you are a teacher, I think you need to teach in a rigid way. It's just going to map to your DNA. It's going to map to how you are as a human. You've got to play within your strengths and weaknesses. If you're a language learner, right, and you are a dancer who likes to paint and you hate schedules and you're like, go with the flow. You might be in India tomorrow because you might feel like on a whim, I'm going to go to India, and you're go with the flow and you're blah, blah, blah. I don't think you should take a rigid language class. I don't know if you should take classes, period. I think you should go hang out with some people in a village in India and go hang out and talk with them in Hindi and go dance and play and drink and have fun and do your thing. And I think that'll be better for you. I think you have to play to your DNA and your preferences and things like that. So anyway, I've got a call starting in 5 minutes. So let's wrap this up here. I appreciate your attention. Again, I'd really appreciate if you go check out Easy Languages YouTube channel. Really, really good stuff. Whether or not you watch my videos on there, it is what it is. Do your thing. But I think for a lot of you, it'll be really good depending on what language you're learning. They've got videos for Turkish, for Romanian, for Arabic, I think. They have English. Obviously, I have English videos. They have Spanish. They have French. I think they have Korean, if I'm not mistaken. They've got Greek. The Greek guy's super good. They've got French. There's a really awesome French team behind that channel. Wow. Easy French is doing fantastic. They're really, really good stuff. They have so many languages. They have a whole bunch of them. So it's worth checking out their channel. Even languages they don't have videos for, even languages they don't have people hired for now. They used to often have people hired for them. So they've still got content for those languages. They've got some Mandarin videos. They've got really, really good stuff. I highly recommend you check out their channel. So Easy Languages. Anyway, thanks again. We will talk very, very soon. Bye.